Welcome to another episode of our personal empowerment audio series, Finding Yourself in Paradise. Hi, I'm Michael Benner.
And I'm Steve Snyder, and the topic of today's show is pretending. From the dark side of pretending that, nothing bad's ever going to happen to me, or, they'll never catch me, that denial thing, all the way to the brightened, enlightened side of pretending, the mental rehearsal for peak performance, the pretending, the art of denial or the art of creation. It's just a very powerful tool of the human mind. Yeah,
it sure does have a good side and a bad side to it, and maybe some in-between stuff, but I think humans are really good at this. Certainly little children are born with this ability to substitute an invented reality for whatever is going on around them. You can watch a little boy or a little girl sitting on the floor playing with blocks or dolls, and you even say, what's going on? They'll tell you this whole fantastic story of, Billy and Sally, and they're going for a drive to the park, and the house could burn down around them. And they just keep playing. I think we have a natural ability to invent alternative realities. Indeed, I don't want to get off track, but I think up front might be a good place to point out that to some extent, everybody's life is a perception. It's perceived through a filter of our experiences, our traumas, many of them traceable to childhood, our belief systems and our expectations. And I think all of us have a little Doppler effect going on, a little bit of a shift. It's hard to really identify reality as some kind of objective thing we can all agree on.
We all say that's a wall, it's solid, right? But, not really. Mostly it's nothing. Mostly it's space between the electrons. Our perception of it is solid, but it really isn't solid at all. And so all of reality really is perception. Maybe there is a reality, big R reality, but the best we can get is perception of it. So in essence, it's almost all pretending. Like the universe is what we tend to get when we pretend it. We sort of get to see what we're expecting to see. There is what we agree on as objective reality, and then there's this other place, this land of pretend, this imaginary world that we all agree is not reality, like Harry Potter land, like the Hogwarts universe. We all can go there if we've seen the movies or read the books, but we agree that's not objective reality. That's not real. That's pretend. That whole world of pretend, we use that world to escape from the realities we're in. When we talk about people being psychotic or having gone through psychotic breaks, they go into a whole nother reality, a whole nother world they create in their mind. We all do a little of that. We certainly do it when we dream. There's this other reality we create in our minds. We do it in a negative way to escape from the real reality, the one we don't want to face, and we also do it in a very positive way. Every highly successful person I've ever met has done this process of imagining what they want to create in their life and creating goals and visualizing and imagining those goals and pretending that what they want to have happen is going to happen. And then, that tends to make it happen. You pretend and then you tend. So dark side, light side, the power of the mind to escape what we call objective reality and create an other reality is a huge part of life.
These mind's eye games, these visual computer-generated, I think they started in the early 90s, the first time I ever saw one of these, where you really have to learn how to see the three-dimensional aspect to these mind's eye pieces of art. I don't know exactly what to call them. And even as a journalist, I got to tell you, I've always been surprised that there's been so little discussion about the phenomena. Sure, you can go out and buy books and even posters, but you don't see any of it on media because it takes a minute. The first time you look at a new one of these mind's eye, what do they even call it? There's something about the computer-generated aspect of these 3D images that your brain needs to learn to see it in a different way. It reminds me of stories of primitive rainforest people who are shown photographs, and they just see splotches of color, but they don't discern the third dimension in a flat photograph. They have to learn to see that. And the mind's eye is similar. You have to learn to see the third dimension in this computer-generated stuff. Well, if there is learning to perception, then aren't we all pretending to some extent? I said we're really good at this, and I talked about kids, but all of us love to go to the movies. You may have a big screen TV at home, but it's still not the same as going into this big cavernous room. They turn off all the lights. You've got a giant screen up there, and you're enveloped in pretending that these splashes of light reflected off of this wall is some kind of reality that affects your thinking, that moves you emotionally. I mean, my whole body will react and respond to that. If there's a action scene, a car chase, a fist fight, somebody gets shot, it doesn't take long before my body picks up all the tension of believing that I'm actually there on some level. Yeah, I've got this critical conscious mind that says, you're in a movie theater.
It's actually in abeyance. It's in the background. It could say that if it woke up, but it's not waking up.
Well, I just paid $12 to get in here, so I'm going to put it in abeyance. But that's exactly the point. And when we pretend, we do the same thing. We sort of set the critical part aside. I think what I'm asking is, how conscious are we when we do that? Are we always aware? I think not, is what I'm saying. That there are times that we shift from a fairly objective, appropriately critical, maybe skeptical is a better word, view of reality. Well, yeah, he says this is 80% off, and maybe I'm going to get a good deal, but on the other hand, maybe that price is just jacked up, and it's really not 80% off. It's all a matter, what a great deal I got. No, you didn't. You actually paid way more than you really should have, but you were told you got a great deal. I think there's lots of times that we shift from a skeptical, intelligent, reasonable, rational view of reality to this fantasy where we're more emotionally driven and allow ourselves to be swept away by our imaginations, our ability to pretend, to make it up as we go along because it feels good, right? If I can get a feeling that I've saved 80%, even if I paid more than I actually should have for this, well, not only did I buy the thing, but I bought that feeling.
Indeed. I'm reminded of that wonderful Woody Allen movie where, the psychologist, I think, asks the couple, how often do you make love? And one of them says, well, almost never, twice a week. And then one says, all the time, twice a week. It's like the optimist thinks twice a week is incredible, and the pessimist thinks twice a week is terrible. Reality is perception. So both of them have the exact same experience. One pretended it was good, one pretended it was bad. It's the way you perceive what is actual reality is also part of pretending. Not only do we make reality that doesn't really exist, we take reality that does exist and put things on it that aren't real and make those things pretend too. That's another quality of perception. So what we want to do is we want to harness this power of pretending, because maybe the most important thing to understand about pretending is that 88% of your mind, the subconscious part of your mind, can't discern the difference between that and reality. 88% of your mind thinks whatever it's going on in there is real. Whether it's a dream, whether it's an imagination, a daydream, whether it's an actual perception of the five senses, the subconscious mind responds to it as if it's real. The movie was a great example. The dream is a great example. So that's the most important thing to understand about pretending, is that part of you thinks it's real. I mean, even if part of you knows it isn't, part of you thinks it is. A big part of you thinks it is.
Most of you, actually, yeah.
So if you are the kind of person who spends their lives pretending bad things are going to happen, that's called worry. If you're a worrier, then understand what you're doing is you're feeding the mind's fear. You're feeding fear, and you're giving fear the power to control your life. Now, if instead you're a person who spends much more of their time in pretending good things are going to be happening, this is like a goal setter, a person with aspirations and with dreams and visions. If you spend more of your time thinking about pretending good things are going to be happening, being optimistic and upbeat about that, then what you create, whether or not you actually create those outcomes, because, you don't always get what you imagine, But what is most important to understand is the journey toward those things that you want the most is your greatest journey. If you ever get there or not isn't really significant. Some people do, some people don't. But you always want to aim for the bullseye. You always want to go for the goal, even if you're not going to get the goal. Go for the goal. To get as far as you can get. Do the best you can do. Dream the biggest dreams you can dream that feel possible to you, because the journey toward that is the greatest. So pretending is a very powerful tool. It can cause us to deny what's real. You know, the part where we pretend that the IRS is never going to notice that we haven't paid taxes, the part where we pretend that those parking tickets are going to never catch up on us, that part where we pretend that, you know, forgetting our wife's anniversary for the third time in a row isn't a big deal. You know, we move into this denial thing and use pretending to really hurt ourselves, you know, pretty badly. Or we can use pretending to invent things, create things, to do amazing things, to make stuff up. Pretending, you know, a powerful tool for good or evil, for success or failure, for whatever you want to use it for, but harness it. I guess the message of today's show, how to harness the power of pretending.
I'd like to stay on that point, Steve, because it is so important. The idea that there is this subconscious mind. Now, you said 88%. We've heard 90%. You know, people say, oh, you only use 10% of your mind. It's not like the other 90% is not being used. It's just on autopilot. It's beating your heart. It's breathing you. It's digesting food.
And it's memory, and it's emotions, and it's the higher perspective, and it's the autonomic nervous system, and it's the ability to make stuff up.
Whole bunch of stuff going on.
All that stuff going on all the time.
So the conscious, it's easier to define the conscious mind because all that is volition.
And whatever you're conscious of at this instant in time.
Yeah, it's free will. It's terms of intelligence. It's logic. It's deductive, and that's pretty much it. But the research is indicating that what we used to call 88 or 90%, maybe 98% or 99%, this subconscious mind, this is the imagination, this is the dreamer, this is the make stuff up, pretending, we're calling it today. And so you have to understand this mind, if you're going to understand pretending. Catch yourself when you're in denial. Use pretending, your imagination, in a positive, constructive way, as Steve has just said. And to know also the relationship of the conscious to the subconscious, which really works both ways. The conscious mind can receive input from the subconscious, good ideas, inspiration.
Intuition.
Yeah, those aha moments. Being sensitive to your feelings, your emotions, understanding what they mean. But then it works the other way. The conscious mind can also instruct or suggest or influence the pretending part, the imagination, the subconscious mind, and manage those emotional feelings, for example, or guide us from worry back into a more goal-oriented, positive kind of attitude. Steve, you were just talking about the journey being what life's about, and we hear this all the time, that life's not a destination, it's a journey. And people go, yeah, that's right, it's really the journey, and then go on about their goal-oriented lives. Here's the problem, I think, deferring their happiness until they get someplace, right? Putting off being happy as if this success is going to make me happy. And in fact, happiness is the way. We've done programs on this. We've done segments in dozens of programs saying success does not create happiness, but happiness is the path. That's the journey. Happiness will create success. And managing your imagination, using it for the best possible purposes, having the dream, but you hold it gently in your hand because it determines a direction that may change a little bit as you get closer, right? Doesn't that make sense? The closer you get to your goal or solution, the outcome that you desire, you may want to modify it a little bit. So it's a little complicated, but when you talk about imagination, it's like use it to set the goal or solution to create in your mind a clear, detailed, specific outcome, but don't hold it too tight because it is about the journey. And now your imagination should shift to the moment, to what am I doing on this day to promote my growth toward this particular goal. But don't miss the moment. And why would you put off happiness until you get there? Because there is so elusive. Imagine yourself happy now. Pretend that you're happy, sort of a behavior mod kind of a thing. What if you acted like a successful, happy person right now? Doesn't it make sense that that would promote happiness and success in your life?
Yeah, the problem of waiting to become happy is that you'll spend your entire life waiting to become happy. Because happiness is, the reward you get for moving toward getting what you want. If you're moving toward what you want, especially if you're moving toward what you want the most, then you're happy on the way. You don't have to go do happy. Nobody ever talks about do happy. It's always be happy. You don't do happy. So part of being happy is to pretend that you're happy. Just pretend, and then you tend to be happy. Pretending is a wonderful and powerful tool, and we can use it in some magnificent ways. Because the subconscious doesn't know real from imaginary, for example, pretending to forgive yourself is exactly as good as forgiving yourself. All you have to do is close your eyes and go to a very relaxed place and imagine some kind of ceremony you're creating in your mind where you're forgiving yourself for all those stupid things you've said and all those silly things you've done and all those embarrassing moments and everything you're ashamed of and everything you're feeling regret about. You can pretend that you're having an event in your mind where you're forgiving yourself for those things, and you actually are. You really are doing that. 88% of your mind believes it's happening, and the rewards you get for doing that, the rewards for feeling that forgiveness, for releasing that negative energy, for experiencing the peace and freedom that comes with forgiving yourself for having done. You're human, you get to make mistakes and learn from them. So forgiving yourself for that stuff, and therefore the energy that you've been putting into feeling that remorse or that regret or those embarrassing feelings, you get to let all that energy now be used in some wonderful and positive ways. You can use it to pretend something great is going to happen, to pretend that the next thing that's going to happen. One of the things I noticed, Michael, on the ride over a few days ago, and last time I came here before today, I was thinking, one of the things I notice that makes me happiest is when I have something to look forward to. A specific something. I mean, there's always stuff to look forward to, but like a big something, a specific big something, the next big event, the next big thing we're going to do. And the next major thing in my relationship, the next vacation or the next anniversary. And I find myself...
Anticipation.
Yeah. I find myself creating happiness, like enhancing my joy level, making it rise a few notches higher by thinking about, pretending that I'm actually doing that thing I'm going to be doing in the future, and like getting a little taste of it, a little thrill. It's like a trailer, I guess, for a movie. And in my mind, I create this little trailer for this next vacation or a little trailer for this next seminar I'm going to do. And I find that by pretending this great thing that's going to happen in the future is happening now, it does two things. One, it makes me feel happy now, and the other is it gives me rehearsal. It actually makes it more likely that when that thing I'm imagining happens, it'll happen the way I've been imagining it happening. So pretending doesn't create reality. I mean, you can pretend something, it doesn't necessarily make it come true. But what you do when you pretend is you create a tendency toward making it come true. You are pretending. You're creating a tendency because your thoughts are expecting it to happen and sort of shape the way it happens as much as you can shape the way it happens toward it happening that way. Outside influences come in, stuff happens. You can't control everything that happens to you. You can put yourself in the right place at the right time lots of times, but you can't control what happens to you. But as Michael is so fond of saying over and over again, you can control your perception and your response. And with that power to know that you can control, that you can course correct, that you can control your perception and your response, you can put yourself in the right mood or right attitude or do the right thing to turn it all back around again. Knowing that power that you have to shape reality, with that pretense you've had of what it's expecting to happen, you can co-create that happening.
Oh, I almost missed that. Pretense. That's part of pretend. That's good. I hadn't even thought of that. Well, you're talking about rehearsal, aren't you? You're talking about practice. And actors do it and athletes do it. And I think successful women and men figure it out along the way, that if you close your eyes and pretend that, as you just said, this anticipated event that's going to be fun or exciting or rewarding somehow is happening now, then when it happens for real, you always do better because you've rehearsed it. And the body goes, oh, this again. We did great last time. Of course, we made it up.
Yeah, no fear of performance because I've done it before. It's pretty cool.
And again, we're exploiting, in a positive sense of the word, that inability of the subconscious to act like the conscious. Only the conscious mind knows this is real, this is imagined. The subconscious believes everything is imagined.
Or everything's real, it doesn't know the difference.
Well, you can prove it to, that's right, it doesn't judge at all. You can prove that to yourself anytime you'd like. In fact, we could do it right now if you'd like. Just take a minute. Close your eyes if this is a good time for you. I know if you're driving heavy equipment, this would not be a good time, but use your good judgment. Relax. You heard Steve doing it already there. Nice, slow, deep breath. Feel the letting go. Think of the blackest black that you can imagine, like black velvet, and pretend that you can see this beautiful, bright yellow lemon floating against that black backdrop. And without physically moving at all, just imagine taking that lemon in one hand and slicing it using the other hand with a sharp knife. Now be careful, that's a very sharp knife. And that lemon might squirt you in the eye. You know, lemons are prone to do that. But after having sliced it in half, you rotate it just a little bit and look at it. It's a beautiful lemon. And you really like the taste of lemon. In fact, as you bring the lemon toward your face, you can begin to smell that citrusy smell. And then your mouth is already beginning to water, but as you open your mouth and put the lemon in your mouth and take a big bite with your teeth down into that lemon and squeeze the lemon juice into your mouth, hey, if you're not salivating right now and puckering in response to pretending, you're dead. There's something very wrong with you.
Your stomach's actually creating acid right now to counteract that.
Because the subconscious mind does not know the difference. It just doesn't care. Whether it's a movie or the dream that seemed so real, maybe a half hour after you wake up, you still can't shake the emotional affect of a really powerful, realistic dream. And here I just guided you through a little pretending exercise, guided imagery or visualization. Now, the secret, of course, is relaxation. If you didn't sense a big change, if you didn't salivate a lot or pucker, it's probably because you're stressed and easily distracted right now. You're doing other things. Your mind is on other things. The benefit of relaxation is focused passion. You pay attention as you relax. You're less distracted. The brain says you're safe enough to focus your attention on that narrative that Michael was just doing about the lemon. You're feeling very safe and relaxed, and that's what we had you do. Close your eyes and take a couple of slow, deep breaths. Well, that connection between the conscious and subconscious dilates. And not only is the conscious mind more receptive to the creative insight of the subconscious, so-called emotional intelligence, but that subconscious is more amenable to instruction or suggestion from the conscious mind. And we just did a back and a forth. Your conscious mind passed on my message to the subconscious. We're going to eat a lemon. Subconscious says, okay, it looks like a lemon to me. Oh, we just sliced it in half. Oh, my God. Well, I've been here before. We're going to eat this sour lemon. Isn't it amazing? And it begs the question, how much of my life am I making up? How much of this reality that I'm either enjoying or suffering through is my own invention, a function of perception? Am I just pretending? Now, as long as you're conscious of it, it's a wonderful thing. It's when we slide into the unconscious pretending that we get into trouble. We do things we don't understand. Why did I do that? Why did I say that? Or why do I feel the way I feel? Those are red flags. If you have feelings, thoughts, and behaviors that you don't really understand, why you feel or think or behave the way you do, why you say the things that you say sometimes, that's an indication that you're stressed, you're anxious, you're nervous, and the conscious mind is jumping all over the place.
And it gets hyper-logical. It denies all compassion and empathy and feelings and gets into the super hyper-logical place. And what we do, probably the great pretending that human beings do, they get not so much rational, but they get to the point where they say things and then they rationalize those things. And that's what pretending is. Like pretending that they meant to say that when actually they didn't mean to say it, just blurted out. And then they came up with a rationale for it. They rationalized it and pretended that they meant to do it. That's where the red flag goes up. You think you know why you did something, but you really don't know why you did it. In the aftermath of having done it, you pretend you understood why you did it, but you didn't really. And I think that's one of those red flags Michael was talking about.
Yeah, defensiveness is another one. People who, for whatever reason, are suffering from insecurity, poor self-esteem. We mentioned before childhood traumas, and who doesn't have issues from childhood, right? This can cause us to be hyper-defensive. So if somebody challenges you in any way, even if it's kind and respectful, they just have a request, it might remind you of the way a critical person, a parent or an older brother who bullied you, or the guy up the block, or a teacher, could have been anybody. Even if your parents were saints, we've got issues from childhood where we were criticized, where we were, oh my God, humiliated and really hurt. It's really tough growing up for most people. Even people that seem to be born with the silver spoon in their mouths are criticized for this and that and the other thing. So what is this hyper-defensiveness? You find yourself yelling at somebody and attacking them and calling it a counterattack when, in fact, they didn't attack you.
You just pretended that they did.
That's right, and pretended that you need this fight or flight feeling, that you really are in danger. Oh, wait, that's my spouse. And they weren't attacking me. They were saying that to help me. They were acting as a team member here. Why did I act that way? So to choose consciously to pretend, as in the athlete who sees himself or herself with the gold medal or the Super Bowl ring, or the actor that or public speaker that, just goes through a little procedure in a relaxed state of visualizing the desired outcome, seeing things going exactly as they should. That's a real positive benefit. You can do the same thing with the past, too. The core of hypnotherapy and a great deal of psychotherapy is pretending that you're back there when you were a kid, a teenager or a younger child. And now that you have the understanding of a mature adult, if you pretend, usually with the help of somebody who knows what they're doing, a qualified therapist of some sort, they guide you back to a level of memory that allows you to pretend that it's actually happening. And that same subconscious mind that thought you were eating a lemon a minute ago thinks, oh my God, I'm 5 years old again. Except that your brain's developed and you have a lot of experience and you've been to school and you're educated and you're much wiser and more savvy. And So now you look through the eyes of a 5-year-old with the awareness of a mature adult. And that understanding, that recognition is often all it takes to heal an old hurt. So just as you can pretend you're in the future and experiencing your goal or solution, your desired outcome, you could benefit from consciously pretending that you're re-experiencing your past. This is sometimes called age regression therapy.
And you get to bring the adult, mature you with you, so you and that child get to face whatever it was the child faced alone, and you can face it with much more confidence and much more wisdom. It's a wonderful technique. Pretending can be a marvelous therapeutic technique. It can also be a very dangerous thing to fall into. You know, again, when we get into the denial kind of pretending, when we get into pretending that nothing bad's ever going to happen to us, that Pollyanna kind of thinking, when we get into thinking that our bad deeds will never catch up with us and that nobody ever find us out and that sort of thing, we get in a lot of trouble through that kind of ostrich management, that stick your head in the sand denial kind of thing. People who fail to plan significantly plan to fail, you know, as was once said. So I think it's really important that we take a look at reality from as real and as objective a place as we can, but noticing when we're pretending to protect ourselves is a very important observation. So you can find out which pretending you're doing that isn't real, you know, that is like the bad kind of pretending, the negative pretending. You can find that out if you're willing to be conscious of it, if you're willing to close your eyes and ask yourself, now, of all those things that I'm pretending, which are not serving me, which really are about not really protecting me, but isolating me from my consequences, you know? You know the answer to those questions. Are you willing to face it? Are you willing to look yourself in the eye, so to speak, and find out in what areas have you been denying, in what areas you've been procrastinating, in what areas have you been not doing the stuff you know you need to do, not dealing with the stuff you know you need to deal with. We all have some. So for some people, it's tiny little things, you know, just like that thank you note you should have sent your in-laws that you didn't send, you know. And for some people, it's really big stuff like if they catches up me, I'm going to spend my life in jail kind of stuff. You know, we have to deal with the stuff from our past. So that kind of denial, that kind of pretending is the worst kind. The best kind of pretending, positive pretending, double P if you will, involves pretending with 4 Ps. Pretending in a positive way, imagining what you do want. Pretending in the present tense, imagine it's actually happening now. Pretending persistently, pretending with lots of practice, doing it over and over again. And then the most important P in all of pretending is pretending with great passion. Positive, present tense, practice, and passion. That's the way you most effectively, positively pretend.
Let's do an audio journey and pretend we're relaxed and...
I don't have to pretend. I am relaxed.
And pretend that we're going to practice pretending. Often this is called guided imagery. You know it as visualization, a form of meditation, contemplation found in all kinds of counseling therapies. Lots of scientific research going on using relaxation with pretending, guided imagery or visualization for all manner of things, healing, accelerated learning, problem solving, and decision making. The whole idea is to feel safe and relaxed. Okay? Everything changes. You have much more access to the imagination, the pretending part, that subconscious mind, as you become more and more relaxed. So get nice and comfortable now if this is a good time for you. Sit up straight, but you can also sit back and allow the chair to support you. In any event, think of yourself as being nicely balanced and open. Let your shoulders drop and fall back. Open up the rib cage. Think of your head and neck as aligned above the spine, balanced. Just bring that word to your imagination. Pretend. If I could feel balanced right now, how would that feel? And then move into balance. And take 2 or 3 nice, slow, deep breaths, inhaling through your nose, pull in all of that strength strength and power. Pause for a moment as you peak. There's no hurry. And then exhale just as slowly through the nose or the mouth, beyond where you'd normally stop, all the way out, and be conscious of a pause on that end as well. And after 3 or 4 of these, just let your breathing find its natural rhythm. Turn it over to autopilot as you continue to feel even safer and more relaxed.
And you're feeling balanced, and you're feeling clear, and you're finding yourself right here in paradise with the power to pretend. Once again, you find yourself here in paradise, a paradise so clear, it's almost as if reality did appear. And you find yourself relaxing, and you find yourself pretending. And as you pretend to relax, and relax to pretend, and do both of them over and over again, you find yourself here in a paradise so clear that it's filled with love and has no room for fear. You are safe. You are safe here. And in this state, you can pretend most anything you choose. Your mind, in this state, is a powerful tool for you to use. And so, simply pretend that this power to pretend is growing stronger and stronger inside you. And know that your own ability to pretend, every time you use it, it grew. And it gets stronger, and it gets better, and it gets brighter, and it gets clearer, and it gets more amazing to use. Your ability to pretend over and over again, a powerful tool for you to use.
So you can pretend that you're in the past. Yesterday, last week, several years ago, your childhood. And especially now, sitting here with your eyes closed, so safe and relaxed, unhurried, no problems that need to be solved right now. You can easily allow your mind to drift back and pretend it's a different time and a different place, that you're a different age, and you really were a different person. You're still that person, but you're so much more now, and yet when you drift back, you focus on who you were at that point in your life. This is one of the great powers of mind, the imagination. Similarly, as we discussed, you can rehearse a desired outcome or a goal or solution. In other words, you could allow your ability to pretend, to use the subconscious imagination, to see the future, to see it as you'd like it to be, but also to anticipate the possibility of negativity, of a problem here. And anticipate those possibilities. Now, you don't need to dwell upon them or carry them with you, but just take a look. What if this happened? What if that happened? What would I do in this case? Have a few contingencies in mind, a couple of plan Bs just in case, and then always finish by going to the perfect resolution, solution, goal or desired outcome. Finish with that so that the mind is clear about the bullseye. This is what I want. Now, who you are, the higher self you find in this paradise place, is not the part of you that pretends that you're in the past or the future, but your awareness of the ability to do this. It's as if a part of you that you can experience right now is elevated and standing above the whole process, witnessing your ability to pretend you're in the past, to learn and understand about that hurt, or to pretend you're in the future, to practice that desired goal, manifesting. And yet the truth of who you are, the higher self, doesn't travel. It just watches. It's more than the conscious mind. It is a superconscious. It is an expanded sense of awareness, a heightened understanding, the bigger picture that says, I am all of these things. I am the skeptic and I am the dreamer. I am my past, but not limited to my past. And I am the future that I manifest. I am all of this and more. I am dreams yet to be dreamed. I am possibilities as yet unimagined. Pretend. It's probably a little corny to say dream the impossible dream. But however you say it, that's how we make the impossible possible. Edison pretended he could invent a light bulb. All the great inventions were dreamed up first. The seeds of invention, of innovation, of creativity and realization are in the imagination. It's all about the ability to pretend, that seminal capacity to dream.
And you can use pretending in the now and the here. Whenever you have a negative thought, one of worry or fear, you can pretend that you get to go and release and feel a sense instead of peace. Pretend that's true, and that's what it'll do the next time the fear does appear. And you can pretend that when you have a positive thought, you get to go, oh boy, and embrace that positive thought and make it something you enjoy. You can pretend to do that, and what you'll find is the next positive thought that pops into your mind, that's what you'll do. Pretend, and then you tend to. So whenever a negative thought does appear, imagine yourself breathing deep and releasing the fear. And whenever a positive thought pops to mind, and imagine yourself embracing it and find the feeling of joy and happiness too coming wonderfully, zipping right through you. You have the power to create with pretending whatever you're tending to create. So use the power of pretending, and start by pretending you're great.
A feeling you can bring with you effortlessly back into the room as you use the sound of our voices to reorient yourself, remembering now what you'll see in a moment, getting ready to open your eyes, to go from narrow awake to wide awake as you inhale now, breathe in, Fill your lungs, hold, and as you exhale slowly, now open your eyes, wide awake, alert, back in the room, feeling great, all energized and rejuvenated, feeling better than before.
You know, when I think about pretending, I'm reminded of one of my childhood heroes of pretending, Walt Disney. I mean, maybe every child's hero of pretending, of Imagineering, I think he called it. And I remember the story when they first opened up Epcot Center, which was really an amazing thing in its day. Walt had passed on by that point, and the president of Disney was saying, you know, it's a shame that Walt wasn't here to see this. And Mrs. Disney got up and said, if Walt hadn't have seen this, none of us would be here, you know. If Walt hadn't have seen this, if he hadn't pretended this, if he hadn't made this up in his mind, it had never happened. And you know, it starts with making it up in your mind. Dreaming is a wonderful, wonderful tool of the human mind. And no other animal does it anywhere nearly as well as we do. You know, beavers may be able to make their, you know, beaver dams, but that's different than the Taj Mahal. You know, amazing, amazing things human beings can dream. In the positive and in the horrific negative as well. You know, pretending's got its dark side, it's got its light side. So what we're saying is take a look at the dark side of pretending, see where you're in denial and bring yourself into reality, and then use the power of pretending the positive future that you want to create and tend to create what you pretend.
I think it was Disney who said, if you can dream it, you can do it. It's one of my favorite quotable quotes, very inspirational, and I'm pretty sure that was Walt Disney, too.
It sounds like him. And he said something about, I love imagining the impossible or doing the impossible, something like that. You know, it's like, that's the way they think.
If you look at the stories that they chose, Peter Pan teaches the kids to fly. I mean, what's the secret? You've got to believe.
Yeah.
You've got to dream. You've got to have faith in that dream.
Pinocchio, you know,
wish upon
alive,
a star.
you know,
yeah, all of that stuff. When you wish upon a star. So, yeah, the little engine that thought he could, and Dumbo. I mean, it wasn't the feather after all, Dumbo. So there's great wisdom.
It was the aerodynamic ears is what it was.
Yeah, whether it's Aesop's Fables or Grimm's Fairy Tales, Mother Goose or Walt Disney, these are classic stories. And you get the wisdom in there. It's, what do you think? How do you feel? Make it up. Dream big dreams. The imagination, we've said it's at least 88% of who you are, and brain research is revealing it may be a whole lot more than that.
Because most of the stuff you do consciously, you're doing unconsciously. I mean, the thoughts you're having, conscious thoughts you're having, are almost all the same ones you had yesterday and the day before and the day before. The new thoughts, that's really being awake and conscious. But most of the stuff we call conscious is almost unconscious these days.
There you go. And that's how you find the self in paradise. Thanks for being with us. Join us next week as our personal empowerment series continues to unfold. Tell your friends about it. Forward the newsletter. Forward these programs to your friends. All you got to do is log in to focusedpassion.com. And once you're on your account page with the built-in player, you'll see this really cool device right below the player that'll allow you to forward any one of these programs you choose to somebody that you know who's looking for this kind of information. There's nothing better than giving away what you wish someone had given to you. Share what you care about. And again, mahalo. Thank you very much for being here. Be gentle, love life, and take care of each other. For Steve Snyder, this is Michael Benner. Aloha from Maui.